please, Toya, something should remain a mystery. Hello, Colin Mathieson here of Accent UK Comics. You might be familiar with my work or my colleagues, Dave West and Gary Crutchley. We produce serious comics and literature, such as the Asylum anthology series of comic books, inspired by and starring members of the steampunk community. And I thought, since we're in this little sanctuary of ours together, it might be interesting to revisit one of the stories and go through how it actually came about. In particular, Heart's Desire, a story featuring Count Rostov and Lady M. Now, this story is actually based on a true incident that I was lucky enough to witness, along with many others, at the previous year's Asylum, where, very romantically, Count Rostov at Lincoln Castle, before hundreds of onlookers, approached the stage, got down on bended knee, and proposed in marriage to Lady M. She accepted, the place erupted with applause, huzzas, and even the shedding of one or two tears. And I thought, when I was given the opportunity to do a story for the following year's anthology, why not feature that in the comic book? So there's a short little steps into the creation of that Heart's Desire story. Please join me. So once the idea for the story is there, and I've jotted down some basic ideas, this piece of paper, which looks quite scruffy, doesn't it? With my bestest doctor's handwriting, is actually where the story first takes shape. We had determined the particular story would have 6 pages in the comic anthology. So of course I knew what the final page 6 should be, reuniting and the proposal at the asylum. So the preceding pages have to have a beginning, a middle and an end to tell the whole story of how Count Rostov and Lady M met, how they fell in love, why they had to be reunited, resulting in the very emotional proposal at the festival the previous year. And also here is a few little thumbnails, me trying to lay out the 6 pages to some degree, what was actually going to happen on them. The story's still forming, very fluid at this stage, including the title, Quest of Love became Heart's Desire. The first page is quite similar to what survived, but the preceding couple of pages did change. It had a scene on top of a roof involving telescopes, which had to be cut for length for down to space. But there we go. That's the little scruffy part before we go on to the script itself. So once you have your story structure and your basic thumbnails, you might want to do a full script, particularly if you're working with another artist. I wouldn't normally do this when I'm illustrating my own work, but for this story, I wasn't quite sure whether I would have time to do it myself or have another artist involved. So I thought it'd be useful to write out the whole script. It looks similar to a stage play or perhaps a TV production, with additional thought given to the images. So here in this scruffy piece of paper, I do like my scruffs. I've broken the script down again into panels with a number of images to go on the page to hopefully find I've got enough time to fit everything in. And sometimes doing a script like this, you find that you don't actually have enough space or time, so some things have to be cut out. There's a couple of scenes in here on the roof of the Leicester Space Centre, didn't make it into the final story. This wasn't room. So it's useful to do that. So a bit of a script, a bit laborious to do, but very useful to guide you through the story making process. Once you're happy with the script and the layout of the page, you then start drawing it in pencil. This is not a page from the Count Rostov story itself. You'll see that in just a moment. This is a page I'm currently in progress with a Zulu Wars graphic novel I'm producing. But it gives an idea of the size and the detail that goes into every panel. Large A3 Bristol board paper laid out to correspond with a script and detail all the information that you need to tell the story. So when you're busy penciling the page, you're forever sort of scratching away and just doing these additional thumbnails, breaking down the page, number of panels. Is there a more economical or efficient way of telling the story? If you have too many panels on the page, can you move them around or drop some? The beauty of comics, of course, they are flexible. You can show the movement between panels, so you can actually tell more of the story by showing the actions of the scene as dictated in the script. And this is actually the same page, an A4 photocopy of the pencils of the story. There you see the Leicester Space Centre rocket tower before Count Rostov happens to ignite a dormant rocket, requiring him to swashbuckle his way to the skies with Lady M clutching on for dear life, as you can see. Now, pencils themselves, excuse me, cannot be reproduced in the comic printing, so you have to ink the pencil page itself, which has been done here, the same original page, and actually do this very traditional, using some India ink, the Kandahar, which is diluted with a bit of water, using a small jam jar. And for any calligraphers out there, you might recognize one of these crow quill dip pens. So dip pen comes in different sizes. It's great for getting all the little detail in, but it can also make a mess. That little hole you can see can cause ink blockages and blots to go all over the page. So you'll be very careful when you are using it. Excuse me. But it works pretty well. And as you can see, that is the page. So my finished artwork is quite clear. They call it the Ling Clair, very similar to European comics. Maybe it just needs a hint of colour. Next is the colouring stage, possibly my favourite because I don't actually do it myself. I know my limitations when it comes to technology. Far better to give it to someone who knows what they're doing. And the talented chap we work with is called Mathieson. Accent UK have worked with him for many years now. He's coloured most of our publications. He did the covers for the Asylum comic. He also works for 2000 AD and Heavy Metal, so he's in demand these days. And he works very well with my art, the very sort of fairly basic Ling Clair style of mine needs to be filled with colour to really bring it alive. So Matt applies, I understand, a flat colour to the background, then slowly builds it up based on photo reference I provide or his own imagination, based on people's outfits or the environment that they find themselves in. You see here, particularly in the streets of Morocco and on the beach itself, the detail his colour really adds just brings the whole page alive itself. So that's colour that Matt does. And the final stage does come back to me, and that's actually lettering. Adding the word balloons and any sound effects that you can see on the page. I do that. I had to persevere. Gary Crutchley has the patience of a saint. He taught me a couple of years ago how to do it. So you add the balloons and the words and the letters and sound effects on the computer itself. And that whole package comes together to make just one story of several that appear in our anthology comic. And you probably realise now it's not a quick, easy process. It is actually quite laborious to do all that. So you must really love, what you do. And thankfully, we all love comics. We love seeing how a page and an idea comes together. And when people see the finished item, it's a real thrill for us, and particularly when we get the feedback. If you're doing stories about people who actually exist and their characters exist, you want to do them justice. And hopefully we've done that. Right, well, now I've revealed a few mysteries to you. It's a bit hard work, actually, and I maybe need to dream up some new ideas. So thank you for now. Ta-ta. Oh, Toya, thank you very much for waiting for me. Yes, I'm sure there are thunder in those mountains.